Batman is one of the most iconic DC superheroes, and he was one of my childhood favorites. He recently received a update to his kit in DC Dark Legion, and today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about his kit, the impact of the change to his kit, and whether I see him as a meta champion. Really want to take some time to deep dive into why he works with certain team comps and why he doesn't work with others. With Batman Day fast approaching, I think Batman will appreciate us giving him a little bit of special attention in his own dedicated video. Batman isn't the only character that I grew up watching. As a kid, I can remember waking up on Saturday mornings and watching my favorite superhero shows or firing up the Nintendo. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were a big part of that. I love it when games bring in characters that you wouldn't typically see featured, and I recently saw that Paramount teamed up with Plarium on one of the coolest collaborations that I've seen in a while. For a limited time, you can unlock Michelangelo, Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, April, and Shredder as legendary champions in Raid Shadow Legends. This collab runs from August 21st to November 13th, and although we're already a couple of weeks into the collaboration, you're still going to have plenty of time to earn Michelangelo for your account free to play, and you can also get a chance at unlocking some of the other champions. Big shout out to Plarium for sponsoring this video, and thank you to Paramount for making this collaboration possible. Now, I just unlocked Mikey for my account, and if you want to have a casual clan to hang out in, you can join mine, Baja Blasters. That's Baja Blasters with a Z. And be sure to download the game using the link in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code that's on screen now. Now, we'll hear more about those pizza-loving turtles later on in the video, but first I want to go through Batman's kit and talk about a few things that I think are interesting and worth discussing. When we finish that, we'll probably go into an in-depth look at the team synergies that you might be able to put together with Batman, and whether this ultimate change that they've done recently is going to be impactful to those teams at all. So we'll start with the basic skills, and then we'll talk about the ultimate last, because that's the one where the change came. Now, the first basic skill, Batman's going to dodge a basic attack from an enemy. He'll throw a batarang at the attacker and deal a small amount of physical damage equal to a percentage of his attack. And then most importantly, he's going to interrupt the target, and then he will become untargetable for a few seconds and gain a percentage of physical defense bonus. So I think that's quite significant. He's going to be hard to target, and he's going to be great as an off-tank up front for pretty much any team that you put him in. I really love interrupt and incapacitate effects in this game. The only thing I like more is speed and energy gain bonuses, so I think it's great that Batman does have an interrupt ability here. The next ability that Batman has is called Utility Belt. He's going to throw a smoke bomb. It's an AoE ability, so it will deal physical damage equal to a percent of attack to enemies within a circular area. And you can kind of target where that goes on the battlefield as well if you're in manual mode. There is a base percent chance to reduce attack by a certain percentage as well. So this is just another item on Batman's utility belt that's going to allow him to control the battlefield and help his team out. So far we've seen two abilities that don't do a lot of damage, but they have a lot of utility in that they're helping the rest of the team. They're doing some damage reduction, that sort of thing. You're able to incapacitate targets as well in certain niche situations. The rest of Batman's kit kind of centers around the amount of damage that he can do. So I Am Vengeance is a passive ability. Usually these third basic skills are passive abilities, and at the start of the battle, each Justice League ally, not Bat Family, who is present is going to grant Batman 1 stack of percent attack up. Now, I think that's significant because we're looking at a champion who, I mean, obviously he's synonymous with the Justice League, but he's also synonymous with Bat Family. He is Bat Family. So it's just kind of strange that there's not a Bat Family synergy here on I Am Vengeance. I don't see any reason why you couldn't allow 2 tag synergies to ramp up the attack up here. And I think if you just made it each Justice League or Bat Family champion grants Batman 1% of percent attack up, I think you'd see a significant increase in the amount of damage that Batman's able to do in a Bat family lineup. As it stands, I think you're going to have some difficulty making the case that Batman is a meta-defining champion for Bat Family, or that Bat Family in general is meta-defining outside of Nightwing. So, that's one, I think probably my first big issue with the kit is there's no Bat Family synergy at all, at least not written in as a tag synergy bonus. Quickly, we can talk about Bob and Weave. This is Batman's global skill, and it does increase Warrior Champion's dodge by a certain percentage. So pretty important one to try and skill up, but obviously it's difficult to get stars on Batman, but you will see a significant change in your champion's abilities to dodge attacks as you grow this over time. Now let's talk about the most important update to Batman's kit, and that's going to be his ultimate Batmobile. So the skill description for Batmobile that's currently in game is that using his advanced Batgear, Batman deals physical damage equal to a fairly large percentage of his attack to enemies within range. So this is going to be an AoE ability, and if there are 3 Justice League allies present at the start of battle, damage is increased by 150% of his attack. Probably worth noting that 150% does increase as you level up or star up Batman. And before we look at the skill change descriptions that were posted on Discord and in the patch notes for the patch where this happened, I want to also point out that, again, we're seeing this Justice League tag synergy. Nowhere in the kit have we seen Bat Family tag synergy. So there's nothing that you can do to Batman, or there's no way that you can include him into a lineup other than the fact that he's a Bat Family champion that's going to ramp up Bat Family tag synergy, ramp up Bat Family damage, anything like that. You have to have 3 Justice League allies present to even see any impact at all for Batman. And that's quite unfortunate. At this point, I wouldn't call what was done a nerf as much as I would say it's just a flat change. It definitely did help a little bit with non-Justice League lineups because some of that base attack increased. So let's take a look at what they actually changed. Now you can do your own napkin math here. I don't want to prolong this video by going into a nerdy rant about all the actual numbers, but suffice it to say that the biggest change that they made was you had a 3 Justice League or 5 Justice League tag synergy that you could hit, and then the damage would adjust accordingly. So, in the prior version, you would start out with a base 420, 500, 580, 670, or 750 damage. We'll use that 750, which is the max for this discussion. Basically, you would start out with 750% increase, and then if you had 3 Justice League allies present, it would increase that damage by 290%. And if you had 5 Justice League allies present, it would increase that damage by 580%. In the updated version, the max base damage that you're going to be doing is 900%, which is a 150% increase from the previous version. However, there's no 5 Justice League champion tag synergy. There's only a 3 Justice League tag synergy. And if you have those 3 Justice League members, you're going to do an additional 225%. So that takes it up to roughly 1125%. If we look at just the 3 Justice League tag synergy from before, that would take it up to 1330%. You can do the math to see how the ability was clearly nerfed. I think the key here is it wasn't nerfed for non-Justice League teams. Technically, before, if you didn't have any other Justice League champions, if you were running a full Bat Family team, then you're going to do way less damage. What they did here is they kind of ramped up the amount of base damage so that he works a little bit better with Bat Family rosters. Ultimately, I don't really see this changing Batman's usage that much. People who were using him already with a Nightwing roster will continue to use him, and we'll see a very, very slight increase in AoE damage in battles where he's being used. Anyone who was using him with Justice League is probably going to see an actual decrease in the amount of damage output that they were getting because of the way they made these changes. But I don't know that it's going to be enough of a damage decrease to matter because Batman was never a win condition type champion. I make no secrets on this channel that I love games where you can control your heroes manually. And I think Raid Shadow Legends has one of the best systems in the industry for turn-based RPG combat. Not only that, but I really love that they have one of the best gear systems in the game as well. And very recently they made a huge free-to-play change where you can now unequip gear from your champions completely free. The game also has what feels like an unlimited amount of content and raid challenges that you can do, and it has some of the best graphics in the industry. To top it all off, it's also a game that has been optimized to play on both PC and mobile, which for me is really important because I'm always on the go, but when I am at home, I love to fire up the PC and play there instead. And with all the battles that you're going to have to sim over time, your phone will definitely appreciate the break. If you haven't already started playing the game yet, there's really no better time to start than today. If you click the link in the description of this video or scan the QR code that's on screen now, you can get immediate access to a legendary champion like Sun Wukong or Alice the Wanderer to kickstart your journey. And don't forget that just by logging into the game between August 21st and October 30th for at least 7 days, you can unlock your own copy of Mikey. Personally, Leonardo is my chase champion, so I'm hoping to get at least one opportunity to try to pull for him before the event ends. Thanks again to Plarium for sponsoring this video, but now let's get back into Batman's team synergies. Let's look at some of the synergies that you can actually get from using Batman. Right off the bat, looking at the Bat Family tag, we know that the most meta comp that you can use right now is going to be Nightwing and Batgirl, and then you're kind of just building your team around those two. Now, you do need to protect them. Typically, you're going to have your Batgirl in the back line, so you're going to need at least one tank or off tank to be up front and kind of soak damage. Obviously, that means that you can throw in Batman with those two and make a pretty strong team. And we know that we could build a full Bat Family lineup, or we could use any combination of 2 or 3 units here. Like if you have a newer account, or if you're a non-spender, maybe someone who doesn't have access to Nightwing, you can get away with using Red Hood or Robin in that team comp as well with Batgirl and Batman. But how can we kind of like transform this, or like, I guess, build out the full team? Well, let's take a look at Teen Titans, because that's another really powerful combination that you can use here. If you're using a Nightwing comp or even a Robin comp, you're already going to have that one built-in Teen Titan for the group. So who can you add to that? Well, let's say we're doing the best possible team that you can build. You can throw in Cyborg, who's going to be making it a little bit easier to deal damage to specific targets, and he can do a pretty powerful AoE in that respect. And then you can round that team out with a healer like Starfire. So you're going to end up getting the Bat Family tag synergy. You're also going to be getting the Teen Titan synergy. Because this is a deep dive into what Batman can offer the team, we should talk about that. So obviously Batman is helping to get that Bat Family tag synergy, but he's not really helping with the Teen Titans. So we have to think about how we could potentially maximize our usage here. And so I think the idea would be to maybe take out the Starfire and add in Atom, so that you're getting the Justice League tag synergy, you're getting Teen Titans, and you're getting Bat Family. But that is a very aggressive lineup. It would be a lineup where basically you're just trying to stun lock the enemy team, incapacitate them, and try to get Nightwing to do damage as quickly as possible. So definitely a viable PvP lineup, and probably the strongest tag synergy lineup that you could put together. Obviously, there are ways to kind of cheese this to help heal the team. For example, you could throw Starfire Starbolts on, say, your Batgirl or even your Cyborg, so that you're able to do a little bit of healing for the team as well and keep them alive a little bit longer. So kind of like there's definitely some ways that you can make that viable. But the key is, if you're trying to maximize your Batman's damage, you have to get that Justice League tag synergy in there. Now, let's say we want to go another route. You got a ton of options for adding Batman into a full Justice League lineup. I've talked about in the past that the one of the best, most powerful free-to-play lineups that you could put together is a Justice League lineup with Superman. Obviously, there are some villain lineups that are even more scary than that are pretty viable for free-to-play players, but we're talking about Batman here. You know, you could build a lineup where you've got Batman up front, and you could throw in like Martian Manhunter or Wonder Woman up there as well. And then you can have Superman and Green Arrow in the back. So really the possibilities are endless here if you look at the Justice League lineup. Obviously, there are a couple of legendary champions that would be really helpful at the start of an account. Let's say Mira and Green Arrow are going to be really helpful, as well as Wonder Woman. Those are kind of like the core three that you're going to be building regardless of what roster you have as you start the game. And then if you obtain Batman early on, you throw Batman in there on the front line with Wonder Woman, and then you're just coming up with kind of a fifth champion, maybe a supporter that can help your Green Arrow and Batman do as much damage as possible. So in this case, I would say, you know, some of the best options might be Flash or Cyborg, because they can both be used with very low star investments to make the rest of your team more powerful. Obviously, you don't get that 5 tag synergy Justice League bonus for Batman's damage anymore. So this is kind of only something you're going to be doing early on, or maybe in very specific fights, or maybe in Realm of Fate. But it's definitely something that you can do, and you're going to maximize the damage that you can do with your Batman. You know, ultimately, with Batman being one of my favorite superheroes growing up, I really wished that he made more of an impact on the game. Unfortunately, these small iterative changes to his ultimate and, you know, other kit changes that have been done in the past just aren't enough to make him worth using at all in a lot of lineups that just don't include Nightwing, or that aren't fresh accounts, or, you know, non-spender accounts. So definitely some options that you have to utilize Batman, but he's just not a champion that I can in good conscience recommend that you focus on trying to build up. Kind of difficult to obtain him because you either have to spend on the little reward track that you can obtain his shards from, which they are fairly cheap shards in the grand scheme of things. But you either have to spend money for those shards, or you can also obtain him through the bleed and mother boxes. So definitely going to be a champion that you'll obtain over a longer duration for the most part, especially if you're a non-spender, and just not going to be like he isn't required for any specific meta team comp that's out there. Again, I see a lot of Nightwing, Batgirl combinations out there that don't have Batman in them at all. So take that for what it's worth. We can always wish that they see some of this feedback and make some changes to actually fix Batman's kit to where he actually means more to the Bat family. I really hope they will do that. Until then, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel. It does help with the algorithm, and you'll also get notified anytime I have new videos that come out on DC Dark Legion. If not, I will see you in the next video.